Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wallace, and I'm going to review with everyone today um, MLA formatting and style guide. It's the 8th edition, but why we're doing this is to learn how to put together something like a research paper in the proper format. And so what we're going to do today is actually use, it's called Purdue at OWL, Purdue Online Writing Lab. And I'll give you the website that goes along with this as well. It's a great resource for anything that you need to know about MLA formatting. So let's start with the very first question here is, what does MLA stand for? So we talk about MLA as the acronym, but it stands for the Modern Language Association. And it's a style formatting that is often used in the various humanities disciplines. And humanities are, subject areas like English and art and different different fields of study. And MLA is used not only in high school, but oftentimes in the college level as well. So when I was an English major, I also wrote in MLA format. Now, this book happens to be a handbook that you can buy, but you don't necessarily have to buy it. We have a lot of information for you on how to do MLA formatting from this website, OWL, and also other websites, and even MLA has their own website that you can look up there down at the bottom. And it's the 8th edition. And the reason they have different editions is just that each time they come out with a new edition, they do kind of change a few things with how things are being formatted or set up in the citations, which we'll talk about. So we do have that MLA Center, which is a website that provides additional instruction and resources, and we'll look at that a little bit later in this Nearpod activity. So moving on, we know what MLA stands for. We know that it has to do with how you put together a paper, especially with research papers or other literary critiques and things like that. Anything that you are putting together for our class will be MLA style, anything formal. So it does regulate the document format, so how the actual format is set up on the page, how the words are set up, what the spacing is, and all of that. It does regulate the in-text citations. And in-text citations, I will just talk a little bit about today, but we will get into that in further detail when we do our full-length research paper. And also with another skill lesson. And it also regulates the works cited list, which is the page at the end. Sometimes we may have heard of it as a bibliography, but it's really, for MLA, they call it a works cited page. And that lists all of the resources that you've used to put together in an informational piece of writing, like a research paper or a literary-based analysis, which would be the books that you're reading. So the works cited page lists everything at the end. Moving on, just to take a closer look, the 8th edition handbook introduces a new way to cite sources. So for some of you, this may be the first time you're using MLA. The changes won't really matter, but you will start to follow then from here on out this 8th edition way of doing things. So in the past, there used to be a long list of rules, but MLA guidelines are now based on a set of principles that may be used to cite any type of source. Part of the reason for this is that there are so many different type of sources now with electronic sources that they want to try to get a basic guiding principle as far as what you cite first. And I'll show you an example of that. But the basic changes are that you cite the simple traits shared by most works, things like the author name, the title, and then there's different categories down the line. Remember that there is more than one way to cite the same source, so that's a big change. As long as you're trying to put all of the 3 guiding principles in there, it's not a end all or be all. It's just the fact that you need to have certain information to cite your source. And you want to make your documentation useful to readers so the reader can say, I know exactly where that came from. I can go find it if I need to find that same exact source, either to check it if you're an instructor or just to find more information about the topic. So that's the major change with the 8th edition. This presentation, and as far as what we'll do for Nearpod today, is we're going to focus mostly on how to format a paper in MLA style. We're going to look at the general guidelines, the first page format, and we won't really need section headings for purposes of English 9, so we're going to skip that part. We're not going to look at in-text citations too much today, just as far as what they are. And documenting sources in MLA style, we will look at some works cited lists, and I will also show you some citation maker type of websites later on that may help you with understanding those core elements or how to do it differently in order to get a citation correct. Okay. And also, this is something that OWL puts out, is to always follow your instructor's guidelines, but we do follow MLA pretty much is what we're looking at. Make sure you check with your teacher for any other specific rules that they want you to follow. But basically, the MLA papers should be formatted. I know it says it's been typed on a white 8x 11 paper. Of course, we're not typing on a typewriter. When you pull up Microsoft Word, it's going to automatically be white, but don't change the background color or anything. It's going to be white. Double space everything. I'll show you that. Use 12-point Times New Roman or similar font. So generally, I usually request 12-point Times New Roman. I'll show you how to change that on your document if you need help with that. Leave only one space after punctuation. So it used to be in the past there were 2 spaces, like at the end of like a period. Now it's just 1 space. Set all margins to 1 inch on all sides. That is already in your Microsoft Word as default. Indent the first lines of paragraph 1/2 inch. I'll show you how that's done with just using the tab key. So that's mostly what we're going to go over today. We'll also talk about how the first page is set up. Have a header with page numbers located in the upper right hand corner. There are some other ideas here, like using italics for titles. End notes, you probably will not have end notes on anything that you write for English 9, but you will have the works cited page at the end. And remember that the first page of an MLA style paper will have no title page. They'll have a double space everything. You list your name, your instructor's name, the course and date in the upper left-hand corner, center the paper title, create a header, and we'll talk about that as I show you an example of that. So here's one sample, and I'm going to just end on this note. This is just a general view. I'm going to actually screen share how to set this up. But you have a name, you have the teacher name. In this case, it's a doctor, so it could be for professor, of course. English 9 would be, instead of English 106, you'd have English 9. And then the date. At the upper right-hand corner, you have the header with the author's last, your last name as the writer and the page number. The title is Centered, Building a Dream, Reasons to Expand Ross-Ade Stadium. Once again, it's a specific title that is centered. And then there you go. You have the indentation of your very first introductory paragraph. Okay, well, I'm going to stop this recording here so you have time to respond to a few questions. And then the next video will be how to actually set this up in Microsoft Word. And just to add on to that, once again, all this material comes from the Purdue University Writing Lab, which is OWL. They have a great website listed there, which we'll hand out as well. And so it was brought to you by this in cooperation with the Purdue Online Writing Lab.